I love St. Joseph. He's a silent man, a man of action, a man of silent action too. And while preparing this homily, I felt inspired to see how St. Joseph would describe his experience of the Nativity or the Annunciation to others. And let us pretend that we are listening to a monologue from St. Joseph, which I read a long time ago. It goes like this. Yes, I am still in carpentry business, making a living by the sweat of my brow. It's a tough trade, but I love it. Carpentry is a good living, and Jesus will be a good carpenter someday. He already helps me well as much as any 4-year-old could. Well, let's get down to the story. About 4 years ago, Mary and I became betrothed. And several months before the betrothal, some priest from the temple came to me and said that there was this lovely, very special holy girl, about 15 years old, who needed a kinsman, redeemer, and protector because she had dedicated herself to God and wanted to remain a lifelong virgin. And anyway, shortly after the betrothal ceremony, Mary began doing some strange things. For example, right after the betrothal, she disappeared. I couldn't find her anywhere. It turned out that she went to visit her cousin Elizabeth in Judea. Mary was there about 3 months, and then when she came back, she seemed to be ill a lot, throwing up and irritable and tired all the time. Well, I wasn't born yesterday, so I was pretty sure that she was expecting. And I thought to myself, okay, Joseph, now what are you going to do? I always thought of myself as an upstanding member of the Jewish community and a man of compassion and sensitivity. But I didn't have a lot of choices. If I condemned her for adultery publicly, she would be sentenced to death by stoning. The husband to be, me, would be the one to cast the first rock. So I decided that Mary and I should have a long talk. To put it tactfully, our discussion was open and frank. I certainly told her of my concerns, but she, such an upright young woman, I couldn't believe she was immoral. Well, let me tell you all what she told me. I'm glad you are sitting down because I wasn't when she told me what happened, and I nearly had a heart attack when I heard and believed her story. According to Mary, the angel Gabriel came to her. She should conceive a son, and that's his name, and that his name will be Jesus. Well, Mary could hardly believe it because she had already consecrated herself as a virgin handmaid of the Lord. And however, this angel told her not to worry. Pretty strong stuff for a 15-year-old. So after I heard all this, I had a lot of thinking and praying to do. And believe me, never before in my life have I done so much praying. And finally, I decided to send her away quietly to the country and then divorce her. But a few days later, while I was sleeping, an angel of the Lord came to me and said, Joseph, have no fear about taking Mary as your wife. It is by the Holy Spirit that she has conceived this child. She is to have a son, and you are to name him Jesus. And then he quoted to me from the great prophet Isaiah about the virgin giving birth to a son. And we all know what Isaiah was talking about, the future Messiah, of course. Emmanuel, not just the name Emmanuel. Emmanuel, God is with us. Well, let me tell you, this angel gave me one fierce stare, and immediately I knew that the conversation was over. And in one split second, I was convinced of the truth of Mary's words. And when I woke up the next day, I took Mary into my home as my wife. And the rest, as they say, is history. But I tell you what, before I had that angelic encounter, I wasn't so sure that I believed Mary's story. Now, after I have lived with her and Jesus, I believe every word of hers down to the marrow of my bones. Mary is so good, so humble, so holy, so pure, so loving. I really think that someday, somehow, all people will call her blessed. Let us try to remember that Emmanuel means God with us. God with us. And think about it. And as we look at the baby Jesus in the manger next week, let us try to keep the proper focus on why God is with us. God couldn't come to be a cute, couldn't, God did not come to be a cute little baby. He came because of his passionate and fierce love for us. He came because of his commitment not to leave us abandoned. And Advent leads us to the most passionate and intense love story of all time. God does not want us to go unloved for all eternity. God, the most passionate of lovers, wants to be Emmanuel, God with us.